This episode of the LCTV News is brought to you by North Shore Community College. If you have the will to attend college, we have the way for you to earn your degree.
Good morning and welcome back to LCTV News. I'm Danny Vittori, and this week on the Lowdown, we had Tristan Foley, a MassDevelopment TDI Fellow, to discuss the program they are launching. For news, the city is undertaking renovations, the community is gaining resources, and more. This is the news for Friday, January 13th, 2023. Both the City of Lynn and Lynn Public Schools websites are getting redesigned. The entire process will take approximately 10 months to complete and is divided into 7 stages, with the longest one being design, which is scheduled to take 125 days. The city is using ARPA funds to cover the cost, and the new websites are scheduled to be released in July of this year. City Hall has begun outreach in the community so residents can share their thoughts and expectations. These responses will then be used when planning and designing the websites to make them user-friendly and compatible on any device. A 3-alarm fire on Saturday the 7th completely destroyed a household, displacing 4 residents. The fire was first reported at 10:30 a.m., and crews were unable to get the flames under control until 4 p.m. Due to the structure of the house, firefighters had to essentially take it apart to reach and douse the fire. The house had working smoke alarms, and none of the residents sustained any injuries. Friends and family have now set up a GoFundMe page to raise money to help get them back on their feet. All residents lost both their home and possessions to the flames. Any donations would be greatly appreciated as they rebuild their lives. To read the full press release, go to our website, lyntv.org. The 7th also saw multiple events happening in the city, the first being a Mental Wealth Expo hosted by SkillsUSA at the Lynn Tech Annex building. Community members listened to a keynote speech and participated in activities. Here is more.
On Saturday, January 7th, SkillsUSA, a chapter of the Lynn Vocational Technical Institute, hosted the 2023 Mental Wealth Expo at the Annex building on 90 Commercial Street. Students could come together and speak to the issues of mental health in society today.
If you get to a place where you find yourself comparing yourself to other people, it could be a really negative, dark path you're taking. Like, if I sit here and compare my life to what Drake's lifestyle or something, or a celebrity like Kim K or something, I'd probably feel pretty bad about myself because I don't have that same access to wealth and resources that they have.
SkillsUSA brought on speakers to discuss their own stories and invited students to ask their own questions about mental health and the role it has in shaping one's life. There were also free workshops available for students who were interested in them.
Being able to have some awareness of your thoughts and trying to challenge your thoughts and understanding how they connect to how you feel can make a really big difference in tolerating stress.
We spend so much time taking care of the bad student. We spend so much time uplifting the really good student, but we don't spend enough time giving credit where it's due. So I feel like the culture of our school can impact a student's mental health, because how do you know you're doing really well? How do you know you're making a mistake? How do you know when your effort isn't enough?
The Lynn Vocational Technical Institute hopes to ring in the new year with their students in a good mental space. For LCTV News, I'm Josh Englander.
The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education's Office of Public School Monitoring, or PSM, will be conducting a tiered-focused monitoring review for Lynn Public Schools beginning the week of February 6th. The PSM visits each district and charter school every 3 years to make sure the schools are complying with state and federal special education and civil rights regulations. They appraise a variety of areas, including assessments, specific programming, and equality access for all students. Parent outreach is another vital component of the visit. Parents of students with disabilities will be sent a survey, and the results will be included in the report. The report itself is scheduled to be delivered to the school district about 60 days following the visit. Also on the 7th, the Kiley Park Task Force held a meeting to discuss the possibility of adding a dog park to Kiley Park. Ward 3 Councilor Coco Alansung is on the committee, as well as several other community members. Take a look.
Kiley Park is one of the 6 parks that will receive $18 million to rehabilitate. So I want the neighbors' input.
On Saturday, January 7th, City Councilor Coco Alansung of the 3rd Ward gathered community members of the Kiley Park Task Force to discuss the prospect of building a dog park at Kiley Playground as part of the citywide ARPA funding for parks in Lynn. A popular spot for many dog owners, Councilor Alansung hoped that meeting with the community would allow a resolution to come together that would satisfy all parties.
Our job is just to listen. We're not deciding even to put a dog park here. No. We just want to listen to everybody, any suggestions you may, so that everything will be decided when our designers will talk with our task force.
A number of issues were discussed at the meeting, some of which included the impact building a dog park would have on children, what steps would be needed to be taken to ensure the park would remain clean, and how this new park would potentially attract dog owners who don't live near Kiley Playground.
I don't even think this should even be a debate. I think each ward should have a place that people can walk their dogs to.
I'm really curious about how this is prioritized, because I think what we don't want, what we want to do is we want to increase the property value of Lynn. We want this to people to say, oh my goodness, I live next to this beautiful green space for my dog, not I live next to this rundown thing full of rocks.
I think the more options that we have, such as having another dog park here, would be beneficial to not only the dogs, but us as owners. It's going to give us more abilities to get them tired, get them exercised, get them socialized.
I think people are coming here from other cities to bring the dogs. And that's, it's going to ruin it for the people who are here.
The reality is, either we're having a dog park or not, the dogs are here. I'll get at least 10 phone calls from people who are against dogs in the park. I get calls from people who love to have dogs in the park.
He was also joined by Lisa Nerich, the Associate Commissioner at the Department of Public Works, to answer any specific questions relating to the department.
Our doors are always open. You can always email, call me as well if you have questions. If I don't have the answer for you, I get back to you as soon as possible. And we all work well as a team together, so we're here for the betterment of our community.
Ultimately, the meeting appeared to be very productive and allowed the Kiley Park Task Force to consider what residents would like to see. For LCTV News, I'm Josh Englander.
LifeScene unveiled their new signage and branding on Tuesday the 10th. Members of LifeScene, as well as the mayor, were present as they cut the ribbon on their new sign. Take a look.
On behalf of the City of Lynn, I just want to congratulate the LifeScene team on this new name, new identity, new commitment to the values that have served you so well over the years, over the decades here at the City of Lynn. The wonderful work that you and your team do in service of our youth, of our families, the amazing resources that you provide to parents, to keeping our community safe, connecting folks with resources as they build their lives, their life skills. So just want to say congratulations. Thank you for what you do. You have a partner in us right down the street here at City Hall, and we look forward to long-term collaboration with each of you, and encourage you always to reach out. So on behalf of the City of Lynn, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
The MBTA is continuing demolition work at the Lynn Station. Crews will be doing night work from January 6th to the 20th, from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. The demolition work is being done both on the Lynn Station and the parking garage. Sunday through Thursday, from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m., residents can expect saws, jackhammers, and other equipment to be used. Monday through Friday, from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., saws will be used to cut the existing concrete platform in preparation for the night workers. Due to this work, lights and moderate noise levels should be expected by residents. The City of Lynn is expanding access to mental health services by proposing the Community Behavioral Health Center Initiative, or CBHC. This will create a partnership between the city and Elliott Community Health Services. Elliott is hiring 5 teams of 12 professionals who range from caseworkers, nurses, and prescribers. The CBHC would provide complete outpatient and crisis care to adults and youth, while also seeking to combat the systematic racism and lack of culturally competent resources which have inhibited the system. They will be reachable by a hotline and staffed 24/7. This new program can work with people who are not covered by MassHealth, while also focusing on individuals, such as those who are navigating mental health challenges. Working with Elliott will allow the city to share resources between different departments and coordinate follow-up care with the appropriate resources. To read the full press release, visit lyntv.org. On Tuesday the 10th, National Grid held the first in a series of winter customer savings events at the DeMacus YMCA. Those in attendance could speak with representatives, sign up for payment plans, and ask questions. These events are being held in anticipation of energy increases throughout the region this winter. Here is more.
National Grid is putting on these energy savings events to assist our customers in getting some savings during these really hard winter times that are coming up. We know that the supplier portion of our bill has gone up, and there's a really huge need right now to provide some relief to our customers. So customers are able to come here and meet with our customer advocates and enroll in our discount rates if they qualify, which can provide a 32% discount on their electric, 25% off on their gas bill, as well as enroll in payment plans, as well as our arrears management program, which is our forgiveness program, where we can forgive up to $12,000 of someone's balance if they qualify. You do not need to sign up. If we actually email and put on social media all of our customers that are in that specific area that we're targeting, and you are able to come and bring a friend if you want as well, because we want everyone to be able to really take advantage of all these programs. So we do have several of these events already scheduled for the next 2 months in different cities and towns throughout Massachusetts, because we know the need is in all of our communities.
There will also be several virtual events, including one on the 17th, where customers can receive assistance from National Grid representatives regarding programs and payment plans. At 2 p.m., the event will be held in Spanish and in English at 7 p.m. For more information and the webinar link, go to our community calendar at lyntv.org. Wednesday the 11th, Lynn Classical High School hosted the Essex County Sheriff's inauguration. Kevin Cobbinger was elected to his second term this past election and is taking the reins for another 6 years. Here is a clip.
I, Kevin F. Coppinger,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Commonwealth of
to
Massachusetts
the Commonwealth of Massachusetts
and will support the Constitution thereof.
and will support the Constitution thereof.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Chairman.
I became the 31st Sheriff of Essex County back in 2017. My goals were multifaceted. Bring positive change to the world of corrections, help improve public safety in all 34 cities and towns in the county, and find solutions to the problems plaguing so many individuals caught up in the justice system today.
Very fortunate to be here and thrilled to be here, especially for Sheriff Coppinger. I had the good fortune to work with Kevin for the last 6 years and have seen him really take on the role of sheriff in a meaningful way, working hard to professionalize and standardize management practices, also, recognizing the fact that those that are in his care and custody need attention and wanting to make sure they're given care and custody with dignity.
I am energized and ready for the second term and whatever challenges that may bring. I look forward to continuing to build on the progress we have made with the ultimate goal of making the Essex County Sheriff's Department a national model for others to follow. Happy New Year to you all. God bless. Thank you very much.
To watch the full ceremony, go to our website, lyntv.org. Now, the sports update. The Agnes Foundation, founded in 1985 and named after Lynn athlete Harry Agnes, will double the amount of scholarships they are giving out. Starting this year, recipients of the scholarship will receive $2,000 each year for a total of $8,000 throughout their college tenure. Since it began, the foundation has awarded over $2 million in scholarships to more than 1,000 student athletes. Beginning in 2023, there will be 5 scholarships awarded to students living or going to school in Lynn, with an additional 5 being given to students in other North Shore communities. This $80,000 commitment reflects a 67% increase in those areas. The application process opens in late February. To be eligible, students must have a minimum GPA of 3.0, participate in a varsity sport, and plan on attending a 4-year college. This is also a renewing scholarship, so students receive money for all of their 4 years of college. St. Mary's girls basketball went on an 18-0 run in the third period to defeat Cathedral 52-33 on the 5th. Cathedral bested them by 2 points in December, but this time the Spartans came out on top. On the road in North Andover, St. Mary's was once again victorious, 62-53, to move to 10-1 on the season. The boys' team is 4-3 after their latest victory against conference rival Cathedral, 69-62. They are now 2-1 in their league. While the boys' hockey team sits at 9-0-1 after their 6-0 win over Bishop Feehan on the 7th. The Spartans are 3-1 in their last 4 games versus Feehan over the last 2 years. The Spartans also bested Archbishop Williams 3-1 on the 11th. Their girls team is in the same position at 9-0-0 after downing Arlington Catholic 7-0 last week and Andover 4-0 on the 11th. The Lynn Tech swim and dive team won their meet 94-78 against Northeast Metro to protect their undefeated record and move to 3-0-1. Both their boys and girls track teams are also 3-1 after defeating Northeast Metro in their latest meet on the 11th. Both of their basketball teams also secured victories. The boys team had a dominant 91-53 win over Innovation, while the girls team also topped Innovation 39-24. Lynn English Bulldogs boys basketball improved to 8-0 on the season with an 85-38 win over Somerville. The girls team improved to 5-2 after also defeating Somerville 65-26. The Lynn Classical boys basketball team lost 49-44 to Everett, despite outscoring them 24-13 in the third. The team is off to a 3-5 start after losing their second game in a row, while the girls team is still undefeated at 9-0 after downing conference opponent Everett 46-38. They sit atop the Greater Boston League at 5-0, one game ahead of Lynn English at 5-2. The Patriots are officially out of the playoffs, coming off a 23-35 road loss to the Buffalo Bills to end the season. All the Bills players were sporting number 3 patches and hats in support of their teammate Damar Hamlin, who has been in the hospital since going into cardiac arrest during a game on January 2nd. It was a tight game as the first quarter ended tied at 7 and the half ended with the teams knotted at 14. A catch and toe tap at the back of the end zone by Jacoby Myers scored one touchdown, with the grab by Devontae Parker for the second Pats score. Despite 2 turnovers by the Bills in the second half, quarterback Josh Allen came through with throws of 42 and 49 yards to put the Bills up by 12. The playoffs begin this weekend on Saturday. The Celtics came back in dramatic fashion to beat the Dallas Mavericks 124-95. Jason Tatum got his first triple-double of the season with 29 points, 10 assists, and 14 rebounds. This marks the second of his career. As a team, the Celtics had 29 assists and scored 35 points in both the second and fourth quarters to cap off a 2-2 week. In a tighter game, Boston bested the San Antonio Spurs 121-116 on Saturday the 7th. Jaylen Brown was the top scorer with 34 points, while Malcolm Brogdon had a strong night off the bench with 23. They have now made it 4 victories in a row, with wins over the Chicago Bulls 99-107 and the New Orleans Pelicans 114-125, where Jaylen Brown scored 41 points. The Boston Bruins have also won their last 4 games and show no signs of stopping. In a 7-1 victory over the Anaheim Ducks, David Pastrnak continued his dominant performance with a hat trick and assist to add 4 points to an already staggering 58. At this pace, Pastrnak will not only hit 100 points on the season, but surpass it, as he is currently on an 118-point track. This would make him only the second Bruin to break 100 since Bobby Orr did so in 1971. On this week's edition of the Lynn Lowdown, we had Tristan Foley, one of the TDI Fellows assigned to Lynn for the next 3 years. Here is the Lowdown. Good afternoon, and welcome back to another edition of the Lynn Lowdown. I'm Danny Vittori, and today we have on Tristan Foley, the MassDevelopment TDI Fellow for Union Street in Lynn. Tristan, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Danny. I appreciate it.
Of course. So I guess I'll start by asking a little bit about what a TDI Fellow is. What does that stand for?
Sure. So, well, to answer your question directly, TDI stands for the Transformative Development Initiative. And I'll back up a little bit and just say MassDevelopment is a quasi-state agency, meaning they get some funding from the state and some funding from private sources. So I'm a MassDevelopment employee, and what the Transformative Development Initiative does is it seeks to take all of the resources that are out there and available to gateway cities and focus them on certain districts in the Commonwealth that MassDevelopment thinks have a lot of potential for equitable economic growth. So I'm based here on Union Street in Lynn for the next 3 years to try to help develop this area in the way that the community wants it developed, and to try to help encourage equitable economic development.
And how many of there are you then?
Oh yeah, so
out right now.
Right, across the state there are 12 different TDI fellows, and they are all the way from Hyannis to Chicopee to Fall River to Lawrence to Lynn, and each community has some things in common as, a gateway city, but each community is also different. So MassDevelopment tries to design the TDI program to address the specific needs of each individual community.
And you, before, the way that you were kind of describing it to me, which I thought was a really interesting way to describe it because, you know, I'm not super trained in it, so I don't fully understand it, but you were saying as you almost want to create this sort of, I guess, self-sufficient system by the time you leave at the end of 3 years. Like, you do all this work within the community, but it can still work even after you leave.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. And the mechanism by which I'm trying to work here on Union Street in Lynn is through the TDI partnership in Lynn, which is a group of 15 or 16 people that from Lynn that MassDevelopment has gathered to guide my work and to work together. And that includes people from the planning department, EDIC, and other people in Lynn government, as well as people from the Latino Support Network, Main Streets, and local business owners and other area people with different views on the community. So the idea is that I work together with this partnership, and that ideally, after my 3 years here, the partnership is working well enough on its own that it can continue this work after I'm gone.
Which you said makes sense to me. And how long have you been working here? Like, when did the fellowship start?
So I just started at the beginning of September, and my first day in Lynn was the day after Labor Day in September. So I've been here for a little bit over 2 months. Just meeting with as many of the key people in Lynn as I can and getting to know the community so I can best know how to support everybody.
Yeah, and how would you say, what's your experience been like so far?
I really like this city, and there is a lot going on here. I can't quite put my finger on why, but somehow this city of 100,000 people, to me as an outsider, having come in recently, it has some kind of a small town feel. Despite being a big, major Massachusetts city, it seems like everybody knows each other, or at least is 2 or 3 degrees of separation apart from each other. And also, it just feels like there's a lot of momentum in the city. There's a lot of interesting things happening. There's a lot of different people working on different things. And so I think that emphasizes that my role is just to kind of work to connect these different people and help utilize resources, not really to start anything new, because I think there's already a lot going on here in Lynn.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a ton going on. I've been learning that too in my first few months on the job. And another thing you mentioned too was, like you said, connecting people with existing resources. Mm-hmm. So you said sometimes people might have these ideas, there might be these funds, but they can't necessarily find each other. So that's part of your role.
Exactly. And I mean, I think you probably know this, you as a journalist and LCTV generally, I think we live in this era of a fire hose of information. And really the tough part these days is kind of cutting down the superfluous stuff and accessing things that are relevant and important. And the same thing exists in the world I'm working in with MassDevelopment, which is, for example, there may be a nonprofit that's doing great work on Union Street in Lynn, but the person that founded that nonprofit is already working 80 hours a week. They're already doing this, that, and the other thing. So they might not know about relevant resources. And so my goal here is to learn about everything that's out there, connect people who might not have the time to connect to each other were I not present, and just, kind of hopefully get people moving in the same direction as much as possible.
Yeah, and you just had an event for it too, so it's an extremely collaborative process, it seems like.
Right. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, the idea is that MassDevelopment really wants this TDI program to work effectively across different communities. So the needs of Lynn are necessarily going to be far different from the needs of Hyannis. I don't need to explain to you the differences between those communities. And what MassDevelopment wants is to be able to put a TDI fellow on the ground in Hyannis and have them be effective, and also put me here on the ground in Lynn and help me be effective. And the only way to do that is to have the focus of my work be learning from people in the community what resources and projects would really help Lynn achieve Lynn's goals and the residents and business owners achieve their goals specifically, not some broader based idea of what development might look like.
It's a very, I guess there would be sort of specialized thing where you have generally your plan, but then you change it a little based on the community and what it needs.
Right, exactly. And actually there was a previous TDI district, and Lynn was one of the first communities to pilot this 6 or 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. And even since then, the program has evolved because MassDevelopment is really committed to tinkering with the program and making sure that the TDI program is as effective as possible. So even my work now is defined somewhat differently than the work of my predecessor, who was in an adjacent neighborhood, 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, and you switched careers a little bit to hop into being a fellow.
Yeah, that is true. So for the last 9 or 10 years, I was a real estate litigator working on litigation. I worked for law firms working on litigation that came out mostly of real estate and development. Prior to my life in law school, I had worked in microfinance and refugee resettlement, so had more experience kind of working directly with the community. But I really felt compelled to find a way to harness the skills I had gained as an attorney and bring those back in to more of a public service and community-oriented career. And I think with this position at MassDevelopment, I'm hoping to marry that experience and my real interests in working in public interest work.
Yeah, you definitely seem to have done that, and your work in real estate, it would be useful because from what I can tell, so much of the work is also business-based, like working with these other businesses, and again, that's not my field at all, so I would not be very useful in that department.
Yeah, and I think, too, as I emphasized earlier, the work is through the partnership. So the other issue is I am not bringing all the necessary skills to the table myself. But, for example, when you mentioned the working with businesses on the partnership, we have individuals who have specialized in supporting small businesses and have worked for community development corporations and have founded, the founder of the Latino Support Network and different individuals like this. And the idea is that we can all pool our resources. So I'm bringing my legal and real estate background, then we have a bunch of different individuals at the table bringing their background, and the idea is to figure out how we can best pool our resources.
So it's very much a team effort.
That's the idea, yeah, that is the idea. And ideally, we are able to create a partnership that keeps working and spin off other collaborations. A great outcome of the partnership would be just two individuals who wouldn't have otherwise known each other collaborating together on a separate project.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the idea, is making those internal connections within the community.
Yeah, and it all sounds like such a great program, and I said we've been glad to host you at LCTV as well, you in our conference room, so.
Yeah, that's an important part of it, and I think that, so for the viewers, my office is actually based here in LCTV, and they have, you guys have been generous enough to give me a little bit of space to put my computer and hold meetings, but I think that also exemplifies kind of the attitude of the program, which is, we need help from the community like LCTV in order to make this effective. And MassDevelopment doesn't want someone who's located in Boston or somewhere else, having the role of trying to coordinate efforts in Lynn. They want someone who's on Union Street in Lynn. So I'm here, you can vouch for me, I'm here pretty much every day. Yep. And I think my residency here at LCTV is kind of something that demonstrates the values of the program.
Oh yeah, definitely. You're here, you're on the ground, you're in it, you're out all the time, really working with all these organizations, businesses, people, partners, all of them.
That's the idea, yeah. You know, I'm still new and I've been very, very lucky to have a lot of people welcoming me into the community. And so hopefully I'll bring that to fruition. But yes, the idea is definitely, you know, I'm just kind of serving to grease the wheels and make connections among all of the great and really effective people that are already here in Lynn.
Yes, definitely. And I want to thank you again, too, for coming on and talking about it and really letting people know about mass development, about the fellows.
Yeah, it's really my pleasure. And as you can see, the nature of the work, because of Mass Development's commitment to really making it a ground-up thing, is that it's a little bit nebulous and hard to define. And I really find these conversations helpful for me. So I appreciate you having me on to talk about it and kind of sharpen some of my ideas, hopefully.
Well, of course, I'm glad to be able to help as well. And once again, I'm Danny Vittori. This is the Lynn Lowdown, and we will see you next week with more guests. Now, the community calendar. Every Saturday, starting January 7th and continuing through March, there will be a weekly winter flu and COVID-19 clinic hosted by the Lynn Community Health Center. Happening from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., everyone 6 months and older is welcome. Call 781-581-3900 to make an appointment. LCHC patients can also get both the flu shot and COVID-19 shot or booster at their regularly scheduled visits. Every Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m., free English classes for families and parents of Lynn Public School students will be held at Harrington Elementary School. There's also a student literacy program for the children of families participating in the classes. The classes began on January 12th and will be running until May 9th with the next class on the 19th. To sign up, contact Claritza Ramos at 781-477-7220, extension 3143. To see the flyer, go to our website, lyntv.org. Also on the 19th at 5:30 p.m. to 7:30, the MA Commission on the Status of Women is hosting their first in-person public meeting at North Shore Community College. The MCSW is seeking recommendations to inform their 2023 policy priorities. They focus on issues surrounding women, children, the LGBTQ community, families, and survivors of violence. For more information about the events mentioned and other events in the city, go to lyntv.org/events. That brings us to the end of this week's news. To stay up to date on all the latest happenings, follow us on social media at Lynn Community Television. Also, watch our videos and subscribe to our YouTube page, Lynn Community Television. To read press releases, see our community calendar, and keep up with news on our website, lyntv.org. I'm Danny Vittori, this is LCTV News, and we will see you next week.